Good morning. I had a really fabulous conversation with Pi Venus Williams the other day on a trauma healing summit that I'm doing with her, and she asked me about my concept of position, because I talk about soul centering, which is staying in position, and I talk about staying in position, which she said, well, what does that mean, really? And what it means to me is most of my demographic has not been allowed to be in their bodies for any circumstances that, trauma happens for them. So they use other people as referential points to look back at themselves through, and will kind of project onto other people, oh, well, this is what this person thinks of me. Everybody does this, by the way. I've never met somebody centered enough to not do this. But in attempts to get centered and to stay in position. So one way that you can look at positions or geographic time and space is like, are you in your body? Are you beside your body? Are you so far within your body that you need to come out to your own edge? Are you extended beyond your edge and you're the person who has no filter and you can't contain yourself in there? Getting into position is getting into your own lane. And there are many ways and levels to do that. There's energy work to do that. There's noticing psychology. There's noticing the thoughts that you think. You can be in position. Some people say, oh my God, I'm afraid, like I'm gonna lose my family because they're gonna like disown me. I went through that. My parents told me that they were like, if I wrote my book, they would disown me. And I was like, well, the truth is, like, I am your daughter. That's my position. And if that's what you choose, like, that's fine. Because I know my position in this system. So disown me all you want, but like I still know what's up. To stay in position, it's like I still claim that inheritance, even if you're saying I'm not giving you any like financial inheritance or whatever. That's not really a thing for me, but that sense of energetic inheritance that people go, oh my God, who do I belong to? I don't know. To stay in position, go, yeah, dude, that's fine. I am your daughter. I know my position, and you can act like that's not real, but it is real. So that's another example of being in position. So I often tell people, because they will say something along the lines of, oh, this person. So last night I was talking to somebody and she said, what did she say? She said, oh, she kind of extended herself in authenticity. She was having a little bit of a vulnerability hangover, but shaming herself for it. She kind of said something that somebody else worked on a project, and she said it was confusing, and she could tell that the guy didn't love that she said that. And for her, she said, oh, these people just don't get me. How many of you think that? Like, these people just don't get me. But the truth is, in situations like that, to stay in position, she would have had to admit, I don't get this. This is confusing. I don't get this, dude. Like, I don't get what just happened here. But she was like, oh, I said this thing and these people don't get me. And now I should feel shame. And I see a lot even, and I am in no way, like, I know the trauma that happens to get people to such an inverted space that this happens. But so many people say, I want to connect to my people. But they go out around people and they hate people. And the thoughts that they're thinking while they're around people are, I want to separate myself from you because ew, you're gross, and like, ew, you're schmuck. So they're looking for the right people to connect to instead of connecting to people. And there is an inverted kind of, or like an extroverted actually energy to that, where people are looking behind other people's eyes to see themselves. They're wanting to separate themselves from humanity. Whether it's putting themselves below this or above this. They'd say, like, I hate people, so I can't connect. And they say, well, people don't really like connect to me. I haven't found connections. Well, what's more true usually is that that person is not receptive to connection, because they have an expectation of what connection is supposed to feel like, and connection is actually quite neutral. And then they project onto other people that they can't, like, nobody connects to them. And I'm not saying it's a fault. I'm not saying that there's some responsibility that you're supposed to go out and like connect to everybody, but, and especially if you're walking around like existentially lonely, trying to connect, that I understand that too. But the truth is, most people have a psychological armor within their minds that connection with other, like, they want to connect with other people at the same time that they are judging the people that they would want to connect with. So it's more fair to stay in position and say, like, I don't really get these people. I don't really connect to these people. Instead of always going, the victim mode is like, oh, these people don't connect to me, they don't get me, everybody has to understand me. And my work would say, like, when you are seeking to be understood, seek to understand. And it's like shadow work 101 in the sense that, you know, I don't understand why people demonize shadow work and act like it's some like Wiccan insane, or like, I'm not saying Wiccan is insane, but they act like it's some like demonic thing. And really it's like no different than playing with the shadows inside of a cave and like dancing with them and experiencing like the shapes that you can make with them. That is what shadow work is to me, right? It is being inside of your own cave and exploring the shadows from where the light gets in, but it's still dark, right? So you can always walk out of that cave after you've done shadow work and explored your shadow and go explore the rest of your territory. But that's shadow work for me. It's seeing the dance of your light and your dark and claiming both and claiming the movements of how they come together. Hi. So this being in position thing means a lot to me, means a lot to my work. And a lot of it has to do with embodiment, but most of embodiment, if you have a like clogged up energy system or like fear of being in your body, it's hard to get in your body. It's hard to stay in position. It's hard to stay in position in the narrative that you have, even without being a victim and be like, well, these people are the reason I'm in this position, instead of just claiming position. So, a lot of times people will start talking to me, well, he's going to do this, or he thinks this. And I'll say, well, what do you think? Because my demographic is somebody who thinks about what other people think and not what they think. That is not being in position. So do you see what I mean about being in position, where you are claiming your inner territory instead of projecting your inner territory and defining your inner territory by what somebody else sees you as? And a lot of times people are doing this. They live their lives around, oh, he's going to think this, she's going to do that. And they're not thinking from their own position. They're thinking the game. And this is what happens if you've been narcissistically abused and you can see the game, and you have, like, for me, I'm like, dude, I can see all the players all the time, right? So when you can see all the players and you know the trajectory of something, very likely based on the energy, based on the psychology, based on the behavior, it is tough to assume position on the ground, because you're like, dude, I could see if I assume that position, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. And you want to mitigate for what that is. But that's theoretically codependency, that desire to control every other position, every other player, instead of just get on the ground, like if you were a chess piece, and be your own chess piece and see what your moves are from the ground, instead of this aerial view, which is something I love and I have, and it's a gift. But most of my work in my own body and my own sovereignty has been bringing that aerial view, not trying to control it, and staying in my position. So I was talking to a friend last night who has he is a vet. He does whole body balancing for animals and for humans. So he is a vet, but also an energy worker. And he has a whole system in place that people buy his programs. He teaches other vets how to be holistic vets. And I was telling him, we were talking about sovereignty and what boundaries feel like from a place of sovereignty, because they're just different. And I was telling him that I have a client that I work with who she's going to be a coach, which is awesome. We've worked together for, I think, 3 years at this point, and she's been so transformed by the work that she wants to go be a coach. Or she is a coach, I should say. And I said something in a session, and she told me to look at her Instagram, and I saw that she took exactly my quote that I said to her, which was like, assume your position, do not vie for position. That vying for position creates this desire for assertion that if you claimed position, you would never need assertion for. And that assertion gets people in trouble, right? Oh, please see me, please, like, look at my position, blah, 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 instead of just being in position and claiming position. And she used the quote and she had her name on it, and she didn't like connect it to anything with me. I see people quote my things a lot, which is so amazing that I have like people doing that. And there's memes about me out in the world. That's adorable. And I'm sure there's a lot that don't have their names, my name on it also, but she told me to look at it. I looked at it and my heart kind of dropped. I was like, dude, like, ugh. And not because I wanted credit. I really need you to hear what I'm about to say, and like know what I'm about to say on a soul level is important to me. I wanted, the second I saw it, I was like, dude, did we just do 3 years of work for this to happen? And what I mean by that, hey buddy, can you take that in the other room, please? I'm doing a video. Thank you. Maybe in the kitchen. Why? Because I'm doing a video right now. Then you gotta turn it way down, okay? Thank you. I can do it. Bring it over here. What button to push? The bottom one. Yeah. You're turning it up. Go back to the other way. Other way. Bring it over here, buddy. Let me help you. Now you turn it off. Let me help you.
Oh, dang it.
Oh, dang it. Here.
I can't do it.
Do you want to come say hi on video quick, since you're here and making a ruckus? Listen, this is what I have to do when I'm trying to do videos. I have to let him watch something. Okay, so now that we have 2 boys interrupting this process, here you go, buddy. It'll start. Take it over there, please. It was because and he used this interesting word, and this is what I want to talk about: position versus possession. It was because in that moment when I saw that she did that, I knew she was out of position, because that's my position. And I care about her work very much, and it is more valuable of an asset for me to deliver her a sovereign self that knows what it's like to receive a new thought, digest a new thought, sometimes for years, and allow that new thought to create a new thought in you that actually becomes your own language, instead of quoting other people and claiming it as your quote. There is and I know the energetic transference would never be the same, but she is in a position to theoretically market my brand, and way better marketing. Like, I don't market like a normal person, way better marketing thing than me. So that was in there a little bit, like, oh damn, dude, I am a person who, if I find something, like I've come on here and been like, yo, Pete Walker's book, this was great, or Peter Levine, I found this out, this is great. When I hear something like that, I want to share it with you because, and it's totally self-serving, I want to be connected to the source in them that is connected to the source that was new content, that was a new thought, that was a new creation. I want that source within them connected to the source within me, because it makes me new. To eat something. Okay, I'm gonna be done in like 5 minutes, buddy. Sorry, guys. It makes me new to assimilate and actually digest material after a really long time. And even after I make a new language out of it, I would always say the root source of this was this person. And I really want to be connected to the source that helped them deliver, that delivered that new thought to them. So when I saw that she didn't include me, I'm not like an I want credit person. I have lots of psychologists and people that I work with that say that they use my work in their work, which is fun. Hey buddy, I'm literally in the middle of doing a video. I'm gonna need you to wait, okay?
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
Last time with Glennie, we had a picnic with fruit punch.
You did? Okay, thanks for telling me, buddy. So when I was telling I talked to her about it, which was, you know, the boundary that happened for me, it wasn't even a boundary, it was this sovereignty where I was like, listen, dude, I know that like you're not thinking about this, but it's so important for me that you actually are doing the work instead of like trying to do lowercase w work, that I would have said this probably to her if she would have done that with any other person. I would have said, girl, get in position. That's somebody else's position, right? To be like, my work is like, get in position. That's my position. And she could adopt that and use it, but she can't use my language because it took me literally 40 years to come to a place, and 20 years of self-discovery where I was like deep diving, not just like wallowing in the surface of something, right? For 20 years to come up with the language for that. So I want to help her get into a position so she can develop her own language, because that is in there. She's got her own sonar, right? She's got her own little dolphin language, her own little clicks that it's my job to help her find. And that doesn't happen overnight. I wish it did. God damn, that'd be easy, right? And you know, I always say this, it doesn't happen overnight, but one night it does happen overnight. Years of self-work happen, you know, you go, oh my God, when's it gonna happen? When's it gonna happen? It doesn't happen overnight. And then all of a sudden one night you're like, whoa, it's all here. It all happened overnight, even though it took me like a lifetime of work to get here. So my friend says, while we're talking about this, and he has, you know, he's in a position where people could theoretically like use his work, take his work. And he said, oh, it's interesting basically that was about position, because that was demonstrating possession. And I was like, oh my God, he doesn't even know that this is like where my mind went with this, but I understood that he was talking about that on like a practical level, like, oh, somebody's possessing your work and trying to claim it as their own. But also I really, and that's what it felt like. It was like, dude, like, did we do all of this work to get to this place of like you not being in position and you being in possession of somebody else's position? Because I don't want to be a part of that process if that's where it would end up. I don't feel like I would have done a good enough, like, I don't think I would have been good enough at my job if that was the truth. So her and I talked about it, which was great. But when he said this thing about possession, I really realized that it is true that every time you are out of position, you are in possession. You are in possession of somebody else's thoughts. You are in possession. You're literally possessed by an entity that is not you.
John, can we go to food and bagel?
Maybe. That actually sounds like a really good idea. I like that idea. Look at my nails. They're all jacked up. Sorry, I can see myself in this like reflection, and that's what happens to me. So anyway, when you are trying to see yourself behind somebody else's eyes, when you are trying to be something other than what you are, when you are not in position in your body, you are in possession. You are possessed, and you are in possession of something that does not feel like you would want to nurture that thing. Right? It's like, oh, I'm possessed by this thing. I have this body that I can't get into. I'm possessed. I have to carry it around with me everywhere. Or I'm possessed by this person's thoughts about me. And again, it's that simple premise of when you are out of position, you are looking at life behind somebody else's eyes to define you. And that theoretically makes you unavailable, vacant, and very likely selfish, because everything that you would be doing, you're doing with the intent to vie for position within that system, to theoretically like make them have a different thought about you, manipulate the matrix so that they can see you differently, which everybody wants to be seen, and that's fine. But every time we're seen for when we're possessed by the desire to be seen instead of being in position and being seen, that's a whole different ballgame, because you're actually seen. But that's why a lot of people are seen and possessed, because they're possessed by what they think they have to be seen as. So he was talking about my intellectual property. Oh, that's like, you know, it's funny that you were talking about position, because that's possession. But really, I immediately like consumed that energetically. The imprint was like, oh my God, when people are out of position, they are in a state of possession. And how many of you want to be possessed, right? Like the work is to get within the self, to be a sovereign self where there's no holes necessarily for other things to have an influence on you beyond connection, beyond the simple art of connection. But every time you're out of position and you try to manipulate the matrix to, you are vying for position. Every time you're like, oh, I'm trying to be somebody else, I'm practicing doing this thing, so it's like I feel a little bit like inauthentic. You are in essence vying for position, which I say is the worst position to be in, because you are not standing, you are crawling, and then you feel like a victim, then you feel defeated, then you're resentful that nobody else is going to kind of pick you up. You are possessed by this need for other, which we all need others, right? But when you are energetically trying to kind of consume others just so you know that you exist, which is what vying for position is. It's like, I need you to see me this way, so I'm going to act this way. But really, I'm possessed by a mask or an act that I'm going to be mad at you because you don't actually see me anyway, because you're only seeing the possession instead of me in position. And that's not their fault. It's the self-responsibility here lies in getting into position and knowing what your position is. And like I say in the book that I'm writing, and like I probably said on other YouTube videos, you get one position, you get one like hand of cards that you can interchange when the risk is worth it, but you get one position, one plot of geographic space in the kingdom of heaven. And your plot might not be favorable. You might not like it. But every time you try to go garden somebody else's plot, if you're a codependent, you're like, oh my God, I'm going to come help you while my shit wilts over here. And you act like that makes you responsible, and actually makes you wildly irresponsible, because you're not taking care of your own plot, you're taking care of other people's plots. Or if you're a narcissist, you're like, oh my God, somebody came and raped me of my plot, so I'm going to come into your plot and just tell you everything to do and watch you work for it, even though like this isn't even their land, right? So being in position in your geography is nurturing your own landscape. It's nurturing your own garden. It's not trying to extend into other people's and escape the plot just because, again, this is why I love watching shows like Alone. It's like, dude, some people get unfavorable plots and they still survive out there for longer than other people. And some people get there the first day, they're like, oh, the wind is too much. It's not like a southern facing thing. It's too dark. I can't, you know, they get a plot that is unfavorable. But to stay in position, to win the game, they are required to stay in position. They have to stay in their plot of land if they want to win the game. It's the same exact thing. So, I want you to think about this concept of like, when you are not in position, which again, a lot of this has to do with embodiment. Go watch some other videos of mine. I'm not tech savvy enough to be like, oh, I made this video this time. Like, I have no idea what the hell I say. People are like, oh, you said this. I'm like, that sounds like I would say. But if you're not claiming position and seeing from behind your own eyes where you go, yeah, I don't get these people. Every single person that I have a judgment about, I first reverse it and go like, if I think like, oh, my mother-in-law doesn't like me or something, my first thought is like, oh, I don't like this person. Interesting. There is so much claim, because when you understand we are all each other. The people that you don't like because they represent an internal aspect of self that has been repressed in you, or that you actually project onto other people and are unaware of, or they're getting away with something that you were never allowed to get away with. And you don't like that because they're an external symbol for something you haven't conquered in your own mind, or else you would attract them. Like most people are our teachers in this way. So even in narcissistic abuse, it's like, it literally is a possession. It's like, dude, you're infiltrating my space, my psyche. You're coming in telling me who to be. You are possessed in that space. And it is suffocating. If I was still in that space and somebody was like, oh, get into position, where like, it's incredibly good advice, but incredibly hard while you're still in that space, because to gain position, it requires your essence to be available to you. And that essence, when you're being narcissistically abused, you don't want anywhere near you, because you know any semblance of it that you have is going to be taken by this other person. So it's very disembodied. But again, getting into position, loving your, when Pi asked me about position, and I said, like, most of us are talked out of our body. We think it's unsafe to be in a body. We think it's unsafe to think our own thoughts. Like I say it to my dog now too, but like my mom would always say, don't even think about it. Don't even think about it. And of course my mom would be like, she said, don't think about it. Oh, I'm still thinking about it. Let's think about it. Oh, we're thinking about the things she said, don't think about. I'm still thinking about the things she said, don't think about. Blah, 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 blah. Right? And then I would get all out of position because I was thinking about something that would have probably just blown over if she didn't possess me with the thought that I wasn't allowed to think about it. Right? So getting into position it is not an overnight process. Like, I really used to be the therapist that was like, oh, solution focused therapy, 6 weeks and you're out. That's not a sustainable model for the kind of sovereignty that I'm talking about. And I'm not saying everybody needs therapy, but if you're not in position, you can use the help to get there. So can you close that top door, please? Chris?
I want to eat.
I know, we're gonna go. I hope this was helpful. I hope this makes sense. If you're not in position, you're in possession. And if you're in possession, you're out of position. There's a big gap. There's the sovereign light you, and there's the theoretical empty. I don't believe in a devil whatsoever, but if I did, I would only believe in the one that is in my mind, and I don't have enough faith in it to fear it, to be fair. So while you're in possession, you're in the void. When you're trying to be somebody else, you're like, instead of digest the thought and let it make you new so that you can formulate the newness of the transformation instead of just like offer information, you're in possession of a thought instead of in position with the thought. And I was really proud of me and my client because we both were able to like maintain position. I was like, that's my position, and for you to get in your position, like, let's do it this way. Or how would you like to do it that way? So if you're not in position, you're in possession. And if you're in possession, what are you possessing? And what's possessing you? Because it's very likely not, it's going to feel empty. It's going to feel like the void that's not even fertile in you. It's going to feel fake. It's going to feel like the mask. And from that place, you're always going to resent people and hate people that actually have the sense of peace that you want. Most of my people, all they want is peace. They live in a mind that they're like, dude, I would literally pay billions of dollars to just be at peace in here. And I'm incredibly astute at helping people find that position within themselves. So not in position, in possession. Don't want to be in possession because it's out of position, and it creates a big gap for other people to come in and more people to possess you. And then you have more people to blame for the fact that you're not you.